listening to Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey. Brought to you by Everything Cowboy.
Welcome to episode 128 of Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey. My name's Ted Stovin. He's Wacey Anderson.
Howdy.
And what's going on, man? It's October. It's still nice out up here. It's kind of nice.
It's after Thanksgiving, man. We're deep into it.
The post-Thanksgiving, I don't know what to say. Changing of the seasons.
Changing of the seasons. We went to a CFR event last night in Red Deer.
Yeah.
Pretty
fun
a little
time.
tired. It was a good time.
We
picked the official voice of the CFR for the whole
singer.
the anthem singer. So that was a pretty cool deal. Hats off to Bose and everybody involved on that front for making it happen. It's pretty cool to see a local Red Deer gal get the nod.
Man, and it's her first rodeo
Ever.
That's
pretty cool.
That's pretty neat. I like the crossover of the sports. So I hope hope it goes good. Hope it goes good. I'm sure it was. She's a pro, so she'll do a good job.
We also need to give a special shout out to the other two finalists in the round, and also one of those finalists is actually from your hometown, Ted, Drayton Valley.
There might be another person. What I say, Maddie McKay, CCMA Guitarist of the Year, many times. Brett Gardner, 69-time Canadian Rodeo Announcer of the Year.
Nice.
And then me, 0-time anything of the year.
You're the all-time. You're the Wi-Fi world champ, man.
I'm the 0-time anything of the world ever. And then Brody Henry, man, that guy, he can sing.
Brody Henry, man, he's got the chop. He sounds like a Chris Young type vibe, like really deep voice. So
yeah,
watch out for that guy in the future.
So what they did. So I was talking to Keenan, not our friend Keenan Vine. Keenan does the booking of the acts, he does
there's some communications and stuff for the CFR, like a bunch of cool stuff. Yeah,
good dude. So I was like, hey, what do you like? Some of these folks could be on the CFR stage event someday. He's like, I don't know if he got thinking about it during the show, but I was like, could I say that? Was that out of line? And then by the end of it, because I didn't want to put any words in anybody's mouth or anything, I just was kind of speculating. And then by the end of a night, he was like, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to put, they're going to get to sing on the stage. And I was like, yeah, sweet. So I was just expecting maybe someday they might be an act there, but he's like, no, let's put them in, we'll put them in
why not? Yeah.
He's like, yeah, so all the top 3 finalists all get to sing a song with the CFR All-Star Band.
That's so cool.
Yes.
That's such a sweet,
it worked out well, but I was like, they're legit enough. It's just throw them in for a song. It's a kind of a big break for them, kind of get them going. And, John Winwick with ATB Financial, the ATB is the presenting sponsor of the CFR?
Yeah, they are.
Title or presenting sponsor?
Yeah, they're presenting sponsor, yeah.
So John is, buddies with Mark Giordano.
Gord Bamford.
Jordan Eberle, Gord Bamford, Brett Kissel. He's, ATB's put on some different events that way throughout the years.
ATB's done a really good job of engaging at the grassroots level with people like that.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, I got Bamford's number. You're coming to sing this thing next year. Because Johnny will do that. He's just you're in.
Yeah.
So he'll get him hooked up. And what else? Yeah, so just it's good. It's a launching point for some of those careers for some of those people.
Yeah, man, it's cool. And it kind of sets up the event to be as kind of a staple of the CFR moving forward. You know what I mean? Have that incentive for people to sign up. So you get a chance not only to be the voice of the CFR, but they get to sing literally it is like CFR Idol.
If we were doing it, it'd be the masked singer. Wacey not had to put masks on it.
Oh God, I would not be winning.
It'd be funny to have that as a sidebar to that show. The only problem is it'd be tough to keep it tight.
Yeah.
But not a 7-hour long show.
It was a cool for how quickly we threw it together. It turned out pretty awesome. So
you guys did a good job.
It was a good deal. Stoked about that. So it's a good kind of it's a good kind of unofficial CFR kickoff in Red Deer. So we'll be there in a few weeks.
Yeah. So this show is going to be out on Wednesday, the 19th, and then the next show after that will be our CFR preview show, and then what? Yeah, then I'm going to a couple football games before this show comes out.
LA.
Yeah, we got Medicine Hat this weekend. What else? NFR. We've got a bunch of Canadians going. I guess we haven't really recapped that because we did this the last one before then. As we talked to our guest this week, Kole Ashbacher, one of the 6 Canadian bronc riders, we found out that those guys, they thought that they set a new record, but they were wrong.
They tied it, though, which is pretty impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, and there's still been more Canadians make the NFR overall back to 1991. And breakaway is kind of a new event, so it kind of changes the game a little bit. But anyways, big stuff coming up. Final season. Looking forward to the PBR Canada Finals in Edmonton as well. We got Saskatoon, like you said, CFR. I'll be on the stage doing the buckles. We're going to do our show daily.
Cowboy Shit Live's coming back.
Yeah, we're doing that as well. So I got to get that
I'm going to Arizona on Tuesday.
Yeah, man, stuff's happening.
We're going. We're going bowling in a few hours.
No, we're going bowling.
Bowling in half an hour.
25
minutes. We're going bowling. I can't wait. I fucking love bowling.
It's going to be good. I'm going to probably dust some Coronas or something in there too.
Oh, I need some hair of the dog bad.
I might want a paralyzer.
Ooh,
but I don't think they'll make a paralyzer for me down there. I think it's a limited bar. Anyways.
Yeah, cool, man. Some cool shit coming up. We also, and then the CFR, we're gonna have a really big footprint of the CFR this year between
is that even public yet? We haven't announced it.
It's coming out. We're making the announcement Monday, so we can talk about it here. Yeah.
Okay. Fill me in.
So we got Cowboy Shit live during the trade show.
Yep.
So that's been the last couple of years we've been doing.
I heard we even have a backstage area.
With backstage area,
I'm gonna keep my scotch there.
Well, I think it'll be cool because we have a few new elements added to it this year. So make sure you come check us out daily. I don't know the exact time. Is it 3 p.m.?
3:30. 3:30.
We'll get that confirmed
eventually.
Come check us out there. Ted's doing the buckles after the perf before the cabaret gets rolling.
Yeah.
We also have the Cowboy Shit watch party, which is happening before each performance from Wednesday to Saturday.
Right?
And during. So if you come down to the show early, I think it starts at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., 2 hours before the actual performance. You can watch a rerun of the previous night's performance.
Isn't the perf at 6 again? Is it Act 6 or is it 7?
I think it's at 7.
I think it's 6.
Yeah, it might be at 6. I've been trying to find that information out, and I work there, and I can't even find it. So, anyways,
it's on SeatGeek. Anyways, keep going.
Anyways, yes, we have
6 p.m. nightly.
Okay, so 2 hours before each performance, we have
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So we'll have a rerun of each rodeo performance playing for everybody there. We're going to do some ticket giveaways, do some engagements. Teddy and I'll be bopping around before the rodeo starts. And then if you don't have tickets to the show, you can stay in the watch party area, watch the performance live, and then just wander on over to the Prairie Pavilion to have a nice
check
little
out the buckle presentation.
Buckle presentations cabaret, and it's all free, so doesn't take any tickets. And come hang out. It'll be super fun. We'll be kicking it. And I heard there's a rumor there might be cutouts of us.
Oh, really?
Maybe some games. Might be a beer pong tournament. Maybe there's some cool shit happening. So stay tuned as we head into the CFR.
So
it's gonna be crazy.
It's happening. And hey, talk about our friends at Sweet Pro.
They're also going to be at the CFR.
You got to meet Eric for lunch the other day too in Airdrie.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So we've partnered up with our friends from Sweet Pro Feeds and
Equipride and Equilix.
Equipride and Equilix. Yeah, they're a feed company that has been going since 1991, family owned. Been creating supplements for all different sorts of livestock. They're pretty cool. They are. I don't think is it guaranteed? I don't have the notes open in front of me, so I can't tell you. So it has been said using Sweet Pro, you save 20% on your forage needs.
Oh,
and as
really?
As we head into winter, we all know hay ain't cheap. So anyway, you can save on forage costs and feeding your animals. That's a good thing. That's a win. So check out Sweet Pro
Forage.
Sweet Pro Forage. And overall just good for herd health. Everybody that we've talked to who've used the products or whatever, they stand by it and they say it's awesome, and their horses and cows and everything in between has been looking better than ever. So check out Sweet Pro at your local feed store.
Do it.
Or ask for it if they don't have it. So
do it.
Check out Sweet Pro Feeds. Premium supplements.
Do it.
Other than that, I think that's it for now.
Ticketsalberta.ca for your Canadian Finals Rodeo tickets. If you don't have them yet,
get them.
We'll see you there. We'll be back with our interview right after this.
Loud thunder, heavy rain, thin line between joy and pain. It's a long, strange trip, it's all insane. You ain't never gonna be the same. Living life through the night, thin line of a lightning strike. Sometimes the only light when the moon is tucked away. Pistons pumping, minds are racing. It's hard to sleep, man, when I'm shaking. bad news surrounds me. It's always found me creeping up when things are good.
All right, our next guest has qualified for the CFR 5 times. Once in the steer riding, once in the novice saddle bronc riding, and 3 times in the open. He's just qualified for his first Wrangler National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. Welcome to the Cowboy Shit podcast, Kole Ashbacher. What's going on, dude?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for making the drive into town. It's nice. It's not often we have fellas in the area to come record a show with us.
In person. Live and in person from HQ.
Yeah, not good with technology, so
That's
figured
okay.
this was the best deal.
This is perfect. Thanks for being here. I mean, Wacey, how do you want to start? Where do you want to start off?
We got a bunch of ways we can go. We can start off with like even your family's involvement with rodeo, kind of the beginning, where you like. I mean, I remember seeing you guys around when your dad was hauling steers and stuff, and obviously your dad and your grandpa and everybody involved kind of have deep roots in rodeo. So I think maybe starting at the beginning and kind of working our way forward is the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah. So start there. Start with so kind of give us some background on your family and kind of where the rodeo roots run deep.
Yeah, my whole family's been involved in rodeo for a lot of years. My grandpa, way back in the day, he kind of started the Kindersley Rodeo right on the ranch out in Saskatchewan, and going forward, started getting some bucking horses and packing some with different contractors. And Dad caught a love for it. I mean, he rodeoed his whole life. He did every event when he was younger. Then got into the wild horse racing and was pretty successful with that too. Yeah, and other than that, he got me involved when I was young. I mean, grew up in it with him packing stock everywhere. I was always behind the buck and shoots, helping out, setting flanks from as far back as I can remember. And then, I was 8 years old. My first time I ever got on a steer in Assiniboia, Saskatchewan. And
That's where they set the world record or the Canadian record in the tie down. Wasn't it? Didn't
In Assiniboia, really?
Yeah, wasn't it like 5'7"? I'm sure that's a thing. I gotta remember. I can't
That's
remember
where my
this
mom's
right now.
from.
I actually don't know that one, but yeah.
I gotta
Fun
look
fact
at
of the
that.
day.
I'm pretty sure that is. You could please proceed, but I gotta look at that now.
But yeah, from there, I just, I got bucked off once when I was 9 riding steers and quit for a year and a half, and then still caught a love for it, and from there it was just nonstop. I was hooked and started riding broncs when I was 16, and it's been a long process, but I guess it's paid off now.
100%. Well, you mentioned your grandpa and like starting the Kindersley Rodeo. Ted and I work a lot with Doug Young, who is actually your grandpa's neighbor, and every time I do work a rodeo with Doug, he always tells me a new Archie story. So and actually too, my dad actually worked for your grandpa for a few years there. So me and my brother actually spent some time at the ranch.
So Lee Phillips was 5'7" in Assiniboia, Saskatchewan in 1978, and all it says is old rules. So I don't think he left the box. I think that's what the old rules were. Is he never left the roping box? So he roped the calf off his horse standing there, and he was 5'7".
Dang.
In the tie down roping.
Good for him.
That's
And
impressive.
Saskatchewan.
And that it's a full 6/10 of a second faster than number 2 Ricky Canton 6'3" in Strathmore in 2005, and Marty Jones was 6'5" at the Calgary Stampede in '93.
Dang.
Just a little Assiniboia rodeo history for you folks.
For all
Throw it in
our
there.
fans at Assiniboia, there's some Canadian rodeo history and Kole Ashbacher got on his first steer at the rodeo. So
It's a legendary rodeo.
It's a legendary rodeo.
Did you say your mom's from there too?
My mom's from there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. A whole lot of my family's from that part of the world. So
1978. Dang.
my dad would have been 8 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going on that thread though. On the
Yeah. So I remember some days like going over to Archie's. Like we were just young, and like we'd go like when your grandpa was calving cows and stuff. And I remember one time, this is like one of my vivid like core memories. This cow like she did not want to like. She was like she needed help calving, like so we had to get her in. And like your grandpa was in one of the trucks, and then my dad was in the other truck, and they're trying to get her back to like the calving corral or wherever we were pushing her. And this cow like kept turning back on us, and we like had to like basically like make a V with the trucks to get this fucking cow into the pen to get the cab pulled out of her. But yeah, I have fond memories at the old Ashbacher Ranch from back in the day.
Yeah, it's it's a bit western out there. Not a whole lot goes right ever, but it's still a pretty cool place to be at. I know that.
You mentioned your dad in the wild horse racing, and I remember seeing his name in the record books forever. And then I don't know. Is Dale? Who is Dale to you? Is he a brother?
Dale was my late uncle.
Late uncle. Okay, so he in the 80s, you guys between Dale and your dad, they won from 1985 all the way to 1992. Between the two of them, they won every wild horse racing title in Canadian Pro Rodeo. And then it hasn't been in the like as an official Canadian championship since 2009, but they won it for what is that? 9 years straight.
8 or 9 years. And I know the one year they entered half the season under Dad's name and half the year under Dale's name and finished first and second that year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, that's a sneaky idea, too.
There's a sign in Hoosier, where Archie, where his grandpa lives, that has, the Ashbacher brothers.
Oh, really?
Wild horse racing champions on it.
Oh, wow.
Because they won, because they used to do a world title, too, for wild horses.
In Cheyenne or something, or what was the deal?
I think that was just either Calgary or the Canadian title was what they call the world title.
Yeah.
Because Calgary is the world,
yeah,
right?
because
Calgary Stampede is definitely the world.
Dwayne's who got my dad into it.
The world?
They had a big influence.
Really?
Your dad, my dad. Because my dad entered a few rodeos a few times with Cole's dad. I remember one time we were in Coots, and my dad, they needed a guy, and they went and asked your dad to go in it with him, and they won the rodeo in Coots. Dwayne's was the pioneer of wild horse racing in Canada.
Oh, and the wild cow milking too. We got one in 1991 and 96 in the wild cow milking.
Yeah,
couple more titles.
Yeah, they won a couple titles in that too. That was him and my uncle. It was all three brothers in the horse racing, and then my dad and my uncle in the cow milking.
And was the cow milking then? Was it one guy roped, one guy milked? Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And because there's a bit of variation to it.
Yeah, but that was the cowboy way of doing it.
Huh.
Back in the day. Because then in Calgary they used to do it where they do the wild horse race, and they have 16 teams of wild horse racers at one
all
time.
At the same time.
And then do 16 teams of wild cow milking at one time.
I think it was as many as 20.
Was it 20?
In a couple years.
They had 20 shoots.
Yeah.
Right? They had 20 working shoots at Calgary. Is that right?
I think that's what it was.
Dang.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did those used to count for the all around too? I don't know this. Were they considered major events at the time?
I don't know if that was the case or not.
It doesn't look like they won it, so maybe it didn't count because they probably could have otherwise. Huh.
So this leads us into did you ever get into wild horse racing with your dad or anything, or do you ever make you want to try it? Or? Even growing up though, you still were around it. Did you ever want to give it a go?
Yeah, I wild horse raced at the hometown rodeo in Arrowwood a couple of different times, and then we even, I would have been 16 maybe the time. But my dad, my brother, and I all wild horse raced in Brooks at a New Year's Eve deal, all on the same team. He would have been, he'd have been 55 or something.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Did you guys
he was
win?
pretty old. We got third.
He was pretty old.
They were dad's.
Sorry, Dwayne.
They were dad's horses, and he said, "There's one horse in there. It's a stud horse, and it's the only one I wouldn't want, and that's the one we drew."
Oh no!
And
that's a classic.
This is where I went
wrong.
wrong.
This time.
He actually let go. And I've never seen him run so fast to catch up because we still got it done.
Your dad doesn't let go of horses. That's a rare thing.
Yeah, he was mad.
Yeah.
He was not letting that happen.
I gotta ask about Doug Young. Tell us about Doug a little bit. Doug, we've asked Doug to be on the show a few times, but he won't do it. What do we got to do to get Doug on the show?
Oh man, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've got to sit around and visit with Doug, but I'm really not too sure.
He'd be good for this because literally every rodeo that I've worked with him, and I did a bunch this summer, he'd have a new Archie Ashbacher story.
Really?
Because he was still around. Because when my dad was at Archie's too, he'd be around. My dad would bring his horses over to Doug to get shod and stuff back in the day. And
really,
yeah, it's so there's some of them are wild. I want to save them for when we get Doug on the show because I can't do them justice like he can. But they're
we'll have to
hilarious.
I'll have to call Cole when we have and Dwayne with the Doug just to verify the truth or not of the stories.
Is this truth or is this real?
Yeah, true or not.
So how did you guys get led into the stock contracting business? I know you guys have been doing that for a really long time and packing some of the best steer riding cows in the country for a long time and producing your guys' own rodeos.
So yeah, Grandpa years ago they would buy packages of horses off just random wild horses for not very much money, and they'd just dummy buck or buck every one of them and get a pen of horses that kind of bucked, and got to where they would pack them with different guys, and that happened from when my grandpa started that years ago. And like I said, Dad, he got a love for bucking horses, and he kind of carried it on, and it continued on with the PMU barns, and he had a lot of bucking horses for a long time. And we started getting some bulls mixed in with Carl Barrett, Prairie Rodeo, and putting on some of our own rodeos. And there was a lot of years where we put on quite a few amateur rodeos, and he subcontracted pro rodeos. Just kind of kept involved with that way, and it's kind of died out a little bit. We're not raising near as many bucking horses, and with me gone, it's put it's a lot more work for Dad by himself. But the whole family does help out. I can't say anything about that. They've been pretty awesome. So we've kind of pushed back on the whole rodeo producing and focus more on the steer riding cattle. Dad loves helping kids out with that and making sure that they have proper cattle to learn on.
Well, and your dad got in a really bad wreck a few years ago in riding on stone. He got mucked out by a bull in the back pens or something. Why don't you tell that story?
Yeah, in Cardston, just had a gate that was kind of bent and it didn't slam latch, and the bull ran him over and camped on him for a while. Nobody really knows exactly how long he was getting camped on because nobody was back there. But he had managed to drag himself out of the alley and get to where he was safe. And he wanted to just drive home. They ended up making him go to the hospital in Cardston for x-rays just to make sure there was no internal stuff or anything. And from when I had heard about it, it went from he was getting taken to Cardston just to get checked out to getting an ambulance ride to Lethbridge to make sure like the Cardston Hospital wasn't quite equipped for it, to emergency surgery in Lethbridge, being transported to Calgary, open.
Jesus.
Still open. It was too much for Lethbridge to handle at that point.
Wow.
And spent 2 weeks in the ICU in Calgary.
Damn.
Holy shit. What were the injuries? I don't remember what that was.
He had broken every single rib on the right side of his body and 7 on the left, and lots of them were in 2 spots, like had ribs floating inside of him, and punctured a lung, lacerated his liver.
And he was going to drive home after?
Yeah, he was thinking he was just going to drive home and have a rest. And
holy
you
shit.
all good tomorrow.
Yeah, we're pretty glad that they convinced him to go get checked out.
Well, even like, and he's getting around pretty good these days. Like after that, like that was, I remember hearing about it, and that's a scary deal because your dad's like one of the as tough as they make him. So
yeah, he figured it aged him about 20 years.
Yeah.
He thought that he was in that good a shape that he was 20 years younger than what he actually was.
I believe it, man.
But we like to tell him he's not quite in as good a shape anymore.
Dang.
Well, and it's been good to see him. Like he's like still like it didn't seem like it didn't like sour him up too much. Like you said, he's still hauling the steer riding cattle around. He brought the cow. I won the wild cow racing in Cochrane Rodeo this year. No big deal. And your dad brought the cows. So always like always
pick the right one? How'd you pick the right one?
Actually, I think we did pick the right one. But it's always good to tame an Ashbacher cow. You know, there's always the bad ones going down the trail.
I was gonna say you must have had him tell you which one was the.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything, but we may or may not have had a conversation before the rodeo. But that's what I get for being part of the production crew. So
it's true. So I remember writing an article about the steer riding a while ago, and then we had a conversation about it because it was like I talked to a bunch of folks and we talked about different things, and I fucked it up pretty bad. So Cole, give
the people a little overview of the article.
Yeah.
To who I may not have read it, but
yeah. Well, I got another question about that way too. But anyways, so I wrote a piece on my website, like on Everything Cowboy. This was quite a while ago now, but it was called like the Great Canadian Steer Riding Debate, because there's the steer riding cows, and there's like in the last, what would it be, like the last 15 years? Well, it's almost 20 years, because I remember the Brahma cows, and I was going like 03, 04. But they kind of came on like right around then, did they not?
Yeah, it would have been about then. I think it was like Brad Mead and Tommy Thielen kind of were the
originally, right?
They started that where
in
they
the early
started
2000s kind of thing.
Their Brahma bucking bred cattle for kids, and got to where there was consistent cows that were turning back and bucking a heck of a lot harder than just your run-of-the-mill, run-in-to-shoot to guys herd of replacement heifers.
So
I won my first steer riding buckle on a Brad Mead cow in Raymond, Alberta.
Oh, really?
In the day. Fun times.
Well, so is that, you say Box Springs?
Raymond.
Raymond. Oh,
yeah.
okay. But so So at the CFR, so there's a few different things to the story here, but at the CFR, the steer riding ended up taking like 30 minutes or something stupid for like 6 kids in like somewhere in the early 2000s, like 99, 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And then, or no, because the last one was 02, and it was so bad, it was so long, and they didn't have good cattle for the CFR. Like, they just probably ran in some, like, I don't know what it would have been.
Some beef heifers.
It would have been somebody's replacement heifers,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
right?
sure,
Yeah.
as the way I understood it anyways.
Yeah, so it's great to have the steer riding at the CFR, but if it takes half an hour in your production at the rodeo when it should take 12 minutes or less, right? Like, how do you justify having that and having a shit show and having 17 re-rides? So the Brahma cattle came in as a tamer, shoot broke kind of version of cattle that the people would know, but then I think it got a little carried away. I think part of the issue was that there was some rank ones. Like, remember when I was going, I was knocking my helmet off and like kids are getting knocked out and mucked out, and like there was one that they marked at Calgary here in 04. I got on one they marked 45 points, a 45 point cow. Would have been 90 points in the steer riding when I was 14 years old.
The West boys were like 90. Like
Lonnie has a record. He's 92 in Camrose in the steer riding, right? So I think the cattle needed at these rodeos. What I missed in what I wrote was the Brahma cows aren't all that bad if they're the right ones that aren't the ones that are killing the kids off.
Yeah,
you want to have a tame cow in the chute that's going to buck and be solid above a re-ride, but not a 96 pointer that's going to knock your head off. So I missed that window where I said all the Brahmas were bad, where Kole told me, he's like, no, that's not right. And I was like, oh, fuck, like, I'm sorry that I didn't realize this or know better enough, right? So I'm sorry that I did that, but I think that we're in a better place now, though, right? Like, I think it's come a long ways, and there's way more steer riders at these events now. Again,
that's awesome.
Yeah, like it's really like I think it's kind of like we had the rank ones, and it's like, hey guys, like you're fucking carried away here. These things are too much for these kids because you gotta, like, I learned on the ones that ran across the arena because I could get the feeling for it and kind of know what the hell was going on, and you know, that's probably where you learn too, right? You don't learn on the rank ones. You eventually figure out on the rank ones, but the ones you learn on is ones are, you know, just
give you a chance to stay on.
Yeah, but having those tame Brahma cows in the chutes is a huge difference. The ones that get packed all the time and they know the drill.
Yeah, like I said, when I had quit, it was because I went to a Little Britches rodeo and I got on it was either a Heaven on Earth or a Shiver and Shake weanling.
Wow. That
kicked over its head and turned back right there in the latch, and it front flipped me off. Like, it wasn't bad. It was so small that it didn't hurt me there, but it spooked me enough that I was like, why would I ever do this again?
Yeah.
So when I did begin riding steers again, Dad put me on the cow I got on. It was a beef cow, but he had bucked it a handful of times at his rodeos, and that kind of paved the way for our Brahma cow deal now, where this cow would kick like 4 times, and I'd get rocking off to the side, and then it would stop and eat grass in the corner of our arena. And Dad would run up, it'd sit there, standing still, and he'd say, well, square yourself up, and he'd run up with a hook bent in half and whack it on the ass. And I'd have probably a minute and a half riding the same cow.
Oh, wow.
Where it was like 8 rides in one. It was a great learning deal for me, and it got to where I would run. I could enter any rodeo that had beef cows. Like, I went a full year of Dad would only let me enter his rodeos because he had strictly beef cows. Where kudos to him. And then the next year, I got my confidence up. I rode. I placed once or twice. Like, it wasn't anything crazy.
But you're staying on, getting that confidence.
I stayed on.
Yeah.
I got my confidence. I wasn't getting hurt. And going forward the next year is when I finally got to enter some of them Brahma cow rodeos. And, I mean, I was off and running. I was a bit bigger. I was able to handle myself a little better.
Yeah. Well, it's like Ted mentioned, though. Like, you learn to ride, like, the basics and get the foundation of it. You build up your confidence. You build that foundation to be able to ride, like, the rank cows. And then when it comes time to do it, it's almost, like, it's not as hard as it would be if you just going into entering these rodeos with all these rank cows and shit.
Yeah, and that's where I think I give a whole lot of credit to my dad, because he wouldn't let me enter those rodeos that were over my head at the time. And
but some parents don't know the difference.
Yeah, and that's
right? Like, some parents don't know.
That's where what I've found with our company as that factor is we have where our pro rodeos, the CPRA rodeos, we take a little higher level cows, and then the the FCA, the Chinook, the lower level, the CCA rodeos even sometimes will take those cows that are a little nicer. We're not gonna take the ones that are gonna turn back right there, or you take the 2-year-old cows. Same thing. They don't quite have enough power. There's something that kicks a little harder and might test the odd guy, but you can kind of control what each kid's getting on, and that's where we as a contractor are talking to the families that are entering kids, that are taking their kids that might not know, and telling them, like, maybe you should be going to these rodeos or come to these ones. This is the cows. We've had lots of dads, steer riders, call dad and say, hey, what cows are you taking to this rodeo? Like, is it going to be over my kid's head? And I've even seen it with, like, Bo Gardner's late. I packed him to a rodeo, and Nate told me, he said, if you think that the cow he draws is over his head, turn him out.
Really?
That's I mean, and you can do that. I mean,
look what it's done for Bo. He's kicking ass. Like,
yeah, he's doing
the
very
amateur
well.
level. Like, he's doing it the right way.
And it worked for Quentin Taylor as well. I watched his dad wouldn't let him. He was the season leader in the FCA the one year, and his dad didn't let him enter the FCA finals.
Really?
Because he won all the money. He was tiny. He was 9 or 10 years old, and he won all his money all year. He pretty well won every beef cow rodeo they had at the FCA that year.
Yeah.
Never went to a single Brahma cow rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he go from riding beef cows all year to go to the finals to getting on Brahma cows that the one pen of them is going to spin and turn back in the gate?
And not a lot of those kids are going to ride them anyways.
No.
Yeah.
And Lindsay, I've said this a lot to a lot of people. I gave Lindsay a whole lot of credit. I didn't understand it at the time. I said, well, shoot, you're the season leader. Why are you not going to the finals? Mm-hmm. But when I got it explained to me and understood, I give Lindsay a whole lot of credit for that, because it made Quentin, I think, a better cowboy, and probably saved him getting hurt or something like that.
Well, it's I think for the biggest thing is, like, the confidence, like, you building up that confidence and being able to ride things. And, like, Cody Custer talks about a lot with the bull riding. It's like you should be riding bulls that are to your level and staying on and making good rides rather than getting your head drove in the dirt every time you get on something. And I think that could be attributed to how many steer riders we're seeing nowadays. Like Ted said, like, more people are taking that, like, that duty of care almost to, like, do it the right way and like kind of build a strong foundation to become better. And then when it does time to take that next step, you have a lot of confidence. You have the skills you need to do well. Like, rather than a lot of times, I think even like me growing up, like, I just jumped in to start entering rodeos, like going to CCA, and that was in the CCA stuff, the A pool and B pool of, like, junior bull riding. Like, we're getting on, like, 20-point bulls
yeah,
with two hands. Yeah, like, it was fucking crazy.
I got on, talking about throwing them in, like, I entered Calgary one year, and it was right when I was just starting, and I actually, I got a re-ride on my first one, and the cow that was the re-ride was the same cow that Lonnie jumped out and was 85.5 on 2 days later, and then he actually set the Canadian record with 92 on the same cow the next year.
Damn.
So I was 11 or 12 years old, had no idea what was going on. I mean, the lucky thing about that cow is she jumped 4 feet in the air, and I had no idea. I rode her for 6.5 seconds and didn't even realize that she was bucking that hard.
You're going to be 100, basically.
I thought so.
So, how legit was the 92 of Lonnie's?
I didn't get to see it, actually.
I saw a video of it one time. I don't really remember. I just wanted to throw that in there.
It could be one of those things. I think I don't know, like, not taking anything away from Lonnie. Probably was, like, so.
It's his highest.
Like,
it's almost his highest mark ride ever.
Like,
besides Pinoca this year.
People seeing
he
it,
just
like,
finally beat it in the bull riding in 2000, like 20.
It's kind of funny, actually. We should have him on and talk about that.
9 years later. How does it feel to finally break your own record in the bull riding?
But, like, I probably was one of those things, like, if you were there watching it, you couldn't believe your eyes. Like, this little tiny kid is riding this cow that's, like, bucking, like, blowing up in the air and spinning. It's like, man, I would have, like, marked him 100 if I would probably just
it's like the time. So the year I went to the CFR for steer riding, it was in Strathmore, because Donnie Joe, like, made sure to have it there instead of just being nothing. Because it wasn't the CFR for those 3 years. It was like, it was away till I think it came back in 08.
Yeah.
But from like 03, 04 to 08, it was out. It was gone. So just had the finals in Strathmore, but Ty Patton was like 87.5 on a cow at the finals, and that was like a big deal because that was maybe the highest mark right at the time, and then it just progressively got higher till Lonnie was 92.
Oh God!
And then I think everybody realized, like, this is kind of fucked up. If we're trying to raise these kids to be, rodeo athletes, because the steer riders, like, I went on to be a bull rider. Wasn't very good. Wacey went. Did you did some? You
did junior bull riding, and it was
like
you get on. It was so funny. You'd go to the rodeos in the CCA, and you get on bulls. Then you come out to Alberta and be like Brad Mead's cows or Tom Thielen's cows, at the Chinook, like the co-approved rodeos. So
so
it's still all steer riding, but
still. So you go from. My point being is that not all the steer riders become bull riders. Where we kind of got on a train where it was like these guys are going to be professional bull riders after. Where the steer riding, like. Don Johansson, who's on the show before, episode 50, we did it with Chad and him. But like, there's a lot of kids that went to the steer riding school of Don's that are still involved in rodeo. They might be rodeo fans. They might be, bronc riders now. They might be calf ropers. They might be bulldoggers. Like, you can do a lot of different things. But that's one of your first introductions to rodeo for a lot of folks is that steer riding school. And if you don't give them a good experience then and you go get on like a Brahma cow and get knocked the fuck out when you're a kid on some of the good ones. Like, how does that make you want to come back and be a rodeo person?
Yeah.
We got to have that entry-level Timbits hockey for rodeo where it's not just,
that's a good analogy.
Welcome to the big leagues.
And even if you don't end up being involved as a competitor or anything,
whether
you end up as a sponsor that's throwing thousands of dollars.
Maybe.
Work for you could end up being a construction worker, get high up in a construction company or an insurance company, and you're sponsoring rodeos. And as long as you had that love for rodeo
and a good experience,
like you had said,
you
want to be involved in rodeo going forward.
So I fucked up with my article, but long story short, Brahma cows aren't all that bad. You just gotta have the right ones and have a selected pen of cattle. So I appreciate what you guys are doing on that side of things to make sure.
I was gonna say the steer riding in Cochrane was awesome this year. Like it's
the best event.
Yeah, it's
one
great.
bull rider.
There's six steer riders a day, but like there was an even pen of cows. All those kids like had a really good chance to stay on. Like I thought it was great. Like nobody was in over their head at all. Like it was really good to watch.
And I think Dad had even said there was a lot of kids that was their like third, fourth rodeo, and they were staying on. They were excited when they got off. Like he gets really excited about that. Like he loves seeing kids be happy afterwards, whether they buck off, whether they stay on. He wants to keep them kids involved in rodeo.
Well, he gives a shit.
Make them learn something.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Does that wrap up our steer riding conversation? Do you need to take anything out of me? Like, you fucked this up.
No.
That's good. It's good.
I just kind of laughed at it with him. I said, "What is
you don't
going
want
on
Dwayne
here?"
mad at you
because it kind of like made some rounds. Like I think it started the conversation at least. Like I was kind of on the tail end of it. I think for the most part. Like I don't even know when it was now. It was quite a few years ago, but there's been an uptick in steer riding since. We can't lie. We can't deny that.
Like, there's so many steer
riders.
Uptick
in the steer riders. Like if you look at the numbers, like there's been more recently. So people kind of I think paid attention.
Yeah.
Am I not wrong? Like I know it's not.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I at least created a bit of a.
But that's some conversation. That's the main thing. Having that conversation, right? Is especially with rodeo and trying to get new people involved and competing and all that kind of stuff. You got to build people up the right way. Like you say, having those look at hockey or soccer, all this stuff, like at the grassroots level, they do such a good job developing new people to the sport. I think rodeo needs to continue to improve that and make it a better place to grow like athletes, whether it be cowboys, cowgirls, or people involved. So I mean, it's got to happen. We're look at the amateur level, like you said. There's one bull rider, there's 3 saddle bronc riders, there's no bareback riders. Like the steer riding and these events are what kind of intros people to those rodeo and to those events. I mean, we need to do a good job of, like you say, making sure they have a good experience, making sure they're happy no matter what happens.
Yeah, we don't have thousands and thousands of kids showing up to start out like Timbits hockey has. Like, we need to try and figure out a way as rodeo to keep rodeo alive. We need to figure out a way to have those bringing in new kids, because it seems like everybody that's coming into rodeo was around rodeo when they were younger. Their dad rodeoed, their grandpa rodeoed. They don't have anybody that had never rodeoed before. There's very few, and if you look back a lot of years, like there was Connor Hamilton that was not a rodeo family. There's only a couple kids that end up rodeoing full time that weren't from a rodeo background.
Yeah.
So, and there's still lots of kids that have a rodeo background that decide they aren't going to go to a rodeo background. So it gets to where we got to find some way to keep bringing new kids into this sport.
What was I going to say? I think that
Well, and I think the big thing too, like Ted mentioned, I think the realization that they don't have to be bull riders after riding steers is huge. Like you got girls competing in the steer riding now. You can go on to do so many different things. Like it's kind of it's like the gateway drug of rodeo. Like really and truly, right? Like
although now there's more of the junior high and the high school. Like, but for me, the steer riding was step one, and I didn't really catch on until Ponoka.
Yeah.
When I got lucky and met Don, because I didn't even know, I didn't know shit all about anything, right? Like I was a new guy, totally new to it, and I never really caught on till I met Don, and he was in the chute with me there in 2003. It was, Ponoka Stampede 03. If it wasn't for that day in Ponoka, meeting Don and him jumping in the chute with me, like I probably would have never stayed on again and just faded away and been a carpenter or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but I fell in love with it. I figured it out that day. Honestly, that day in Ponoka when Donnie jumped in the chute on a reroute I had. And yeah, he said, come to the school. So next year I went to the school, and like that was a career-changing day, right? So
even look back at the qualifiers in the CFR for the steer riding, like how many guys who aren't bull riders or who have gone on to compete in other events. Like it's pretty cool, like how that's if people look at it that way rather than like for some people it is a stepping stone to move on to the next level of bull riding. But I mean, you're just not. You don't have to go into down that pathway, but you still can get involved in rodeo and find a way to compete.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with that one.
So I want to get into the saddle bronc riding side of things now. What led you to that decision, aside from any other, I guess like maybe the bull riding or other events? Like, were you always drawn to that, or was there a bit of influence from your family? Or
So when I was done riding steers, I was pretty convinced I was going to ride bulls and broncs. I wanted to. I grew up looking at pictures and stuff of Dad riding broncs, and that was cool to me. And going to all those rodeos, it just looked like something you could be involved in for a lot of years. And it's such an art form. It looked to me like as a young kid that's what I wanted to do, was ride bulls and broncs. Well, it came up to where I kind of got told by my mom that I would be taken out of the will. I would lose any chance at the ranch. I'd be kicked out of the house if I rode bulls. So
that's good like that, Ted.
It ended up being just broncs for me.
Well, and then so talk about getting started. Like, do you think you had a bit of an advantage with your family, like owning bucking horses, and talk about the learning curve getting to where you are now, and kind of all that stuff?
Yeah, I think definitely being involved in the contracting side of things. I was fortunate enough that I knew the contractors. So when I went to my first school, John Duffy ran me in the perfect first horse. It was at Skeeter Thurston School, and Dad had talked to John beforehand, so I had a bit of an edge. I got the right horses the whole school, and then John even sent the two that were perfect practice horses home with us. So I got to take those two home and get on them a couple times on my own when we had the right facilities and stuff. So that helped. And then going forward with rodeoing, like in the CCA, the novice bronc riding is not drawn. It's chute ran.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember that.
As much as anybody knows, it's chute ran to a point where, oh yeah, this one ran in that chute. Whoops. So
and when you know the contractors, it's like, oh.
And I was staying on horses. I was getting my feet moving. So it seemed like all the contractors, with me knowing Dad and I'd been around, I'd go to all of Carl Barrett's rodeos, and I'd get on his colt that he was pretty high on that had been bucking pretty good. So I was entering the novice and the open at all these amateur rodeos, and I'd get on this bucking little colt, and usually I'd fall off the novice horse and then be warmed up and ready to go for my open horse. And
when was this now? Was this like 14, like 12, 13, 14, or what years was this?
So 14, in 2014 was the first time I got on broncs at the school. And then it I think I got on at school and maybe some high school rodeos. And I entered a couple novice amateur rodeos, but then 2015 is where I started entering novice and open at every amateur rodeo I could get to. So in the FCA, the CCA, the Chinook, all the southern associations. And
close to home.
I got on a pile of bucking horses those years in 2015 and 2016.
Doesn't it take like 200 head to figure out what's going on?
Yeah, it's at least
a lot, right?
It's at least 50 head before it's not just black. Yeah.
Like for you, it's just subconscious.
Yeah, and it's like I always say, it's a blackness. Like I had no recollection of what happened for probably the first 50 bucking horses. It's
that was
just
steer riding for me. It took me forever to like. But then I got on some cows because I always want to be a bronc rider, and I got on some cows with a saddle in New Mexico when I was at school in Hobbs, and it was a fucking disaster because it was like I was trying to spur them out, and then I just would get bucked off and knocked out, and like I had no clue because it was such a foreign feeling. Because the feeling of bronc riding and spurring a horse,
natural.
It's actually backwards to what you want to do, right? Because you want to knee up and kind of like ride the buck, but actually spurring a bucking horse, like a saddle bronc horse, is completely opposite feeling what you're supposed to, or what you think you're going to do, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean, even till up in this year, I had trouble keeping my shoulders back because I always wanted to sit up and get square, and that's one of the things I got to tell myself before each ride is to keep your shoulders back. And look on that, even at this point in my career, like
and you're NFR bronc rider.
Well, and so when did you have that moment of like it clicked for you when it was like, hey, like you're rolling? Like I think everybody has that point where it's like you've been grinding for so long and you kind of like getting stuff done, but you make that really good ride. You know, it was like almost where you want to be, or kind of get the ball rolling to kind of lead you into the next step.
So, man, I think that would have been like 2017. And I was entered in an amateur rodeo. I got on a really good horse, and it felt like I got tapped off really well. And I thought I had made a pretty good ride. I was 83 points in Stettler.
Not bad.
And I was pretty jacked about it then. But then I took that next step and got my pro card in 2018. And it was kind of like an eye-opener. It was the first time I really went south for a good portion of the year. And I was trying to ride at pro rodeos in Canada and wasn't winning any money. I actually had to drop my card that year in 2018 and go back an amateur rodeo and get my head right. I was fighting myself. I was having issues with all of my riding, and went back and went to some amateur rodeos, got to where I felt like I was doing things right again, and hit 2019 pretty hard, and that was when I made my first Canadian finals in the Open. And since then, it's been kind of uphill. I've been really focusing on honing in my skill, and it's been a long process for sure.
So first CFR in 19, no CFR in 20, 21 you're back and finished second in the average, win the third round, you're 88 points on, I forget the horse now, but you were...
Wild Cherry.
Yeah, from Calgary.
The one.
Yeah, so win the round of the Canadian Finals, second in the average. I think, did you finish second in the country too?
Yeah.
Reserve.
Won the sixth round too on Stampede Warrior that year.
Well, how many were you that day?
86 3/4. Okay.
So have a very successful finals. That's the end of 21, and you're going into 22. And I got looking at your stats on the PRCA website, and it's kind of crazy because your average score was like 75, 77. I didn't even know these stats really existed very much, but then it was like 81.5 in 21, and this year was 82. So it was kind of interesting to see those scores go up. I got a couple questions about that, but like, how much does it take? So how much does it take in the PRCA till they know you and they mark you good? Like, how much of it is that where it's like, oh yeah, that Ashbacher kid, I know him. He rides good. He gets a 20 instead of an 18.
Yeah, it's definitely it's noticeable. I think one of the biggest things is not giving them the chance to see you struggle.
Oh.
So I think when I went down there in 2018 and I wasn't riding very good, they got that picture in their mind where there's lots of guys that say you miss a horse out or you get known for missing horses out. Well, those judges are sitting there. They're watching real close to see if you have them or not because they know you're known for missing a horse out. Yeah. So they got their hand on their flag before you even nod your head. So when you're known for kind of just staying on and not making those 22 and 23 point spur rides, they're not going to mark you the 22, 23 point spur rides when you happen to do it because they're looking for those mistakes that you have going through your ride. And I think it's definitely a battle where you got to have something that stands out in their mind to start and change that. And if you don't give them that chance from the start, then you're set up a little better to begin with.
So
what was it for you? What was your X factor that flipped the switch?
I think that my winter run where those tournament style rodeos were kind of set up because I in my opinion, I don't know. I guess I don't like being. I try to be a humble guy. Where I think I was riding pretty good all winter, and it set myself up where I was riding and placing in groups where they were only looking at a single day. So in a group of 10 guys, I was able to place in lots of those performances. And that got me through Denver, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and Houston. And I mean, I made the short round. I think I made the short round at the first 7 major rodeos of the year. And by that point, I was set up. I had $35,000 won or $40,000 coming out of Houston, and that was, a third of the way to the NFR for me.
Well, what was it like competing in those short rounds? Like that'd be kind of your first taste of it at those big rodeos and having to compete for all that money. Like how
and what changed from the years before where you only won $30,000 in a whole year in the PRCA?
Yeah, I think I definitely stepped my game up. I got looking back.
What'd you do to step it up?
I had, luckily, my traveling partners helped me get my saddle set up a little better.
Oh.
And
who are your traveling partners too?
Well, Case Thompson's, he's pretty finicky with his saddles. I don't like to sit in it at all. I'm one of the guys that you get it set, you don't touch it when it's right. If you have a bad ride, it's not your saddle, it was you. You don't change stuff. And there's guys that'll...
It's not the arrows.
There's definitely guys that will be, I had a bad ride, I got to change something.
Oh.
And so I ride a set of stirrup leathers a lot longer than most guys do.
You're pretty tall, though.
But at the same point, like there's guys that'll change their stirrup leathers out 4 times a year.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
And I went 2 straight years with the same set of stirrup leathers.
Oh, so they're pretty wore out.
They were broken and ripped, and
okay.
Probably shouldn't have been riding them with them for second year. But I don't know. To me, it's everything I can do. And so I started focusing on keeping my body in better shape and just making sure that I make every ride as perfect as I possibly can. And I think it made a difference in my riding, and it got me to where I am now.
So what were some of the big wins on the year? I saw you got a big check out of San Juan Capistrano later in the year. I think I maybe saw something in Ellensburg and Puyallup as well. But finished 12th on the season, about 112,000 or 103. What was the number?
118, 117, 118,000.
Okay, so 100 and some thousand on the season. Make your first NFR. When did you know you were going, and what did it mean to you to know that you made it? Because you weren't that close the last few years. Honestly, you were like 30th, 40th. Like it wasn't like you finished 16th.
Yeah, the highest I had ever finished before this year was, I think, 32nd in 2021.
Yeah, like there's been people that'll go for years and be 16, 17. Mm-hmm. A guy like Clayton Moore has never made it, but has been top 20 probably 5 times.
Yeah,
right?
I was always pretty nervous all year about whether I was in or not. I had said at the start of the year I figured it was going to take $100,000 to make the NFR. So you get 100
inflation. Thanks, Joe Biden.
and you get 100 rodeos that count. So I said, if I can ride and win $1,000 per rodeo average, I think I'll go to the finals. And any rodeo that you made more, that gives you either the ability to say, oh, I don't want to get on that horse that's not very good. I don't want to look bad in front of judges that might affect what they see the next ride. So each of those rides gives you a bit of leeway, or you can stub your toe. There's definitely rides in the year that I could look back on that, oh man, I definitely could have done better here, or I could have done this differently. So that's how I started my year off looking at it. And when it came to Puyallup, Washington, the cinch playoffs, that was kind of, I placed second there, and it paid $9,000 to win the second in the short round. And that was kind of the moment where that put me over the 10 or 105,000 anyways. But I rodeoed my butt off right till the end of the season, and just because I was still nervous, I didn't want to screw something up until I knew I was in there. Until that 30th of September hit is when I finally said, "Holy crap, I'm in."
You're going. What does it mean to be the first Ashbacher to make the NFR? How many others have tried? How many are you the first one to really give it a full go? But like for a family like yours in Canada to be the first one is pretty major. It's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, I really never thought of it that way. Because Dad didn't rodeo. I remember going to my Winston Bruce school where he came up and found me. He said, I was always mad when your dad quit riding broncs because I thought he had some talent, but he needed to work on it. And that hit home pretty good for me when Winston said that to me. And he had very, very good success wild horse racing and everything, but nobody ever, they only went down to the States very few times, but that was for wild horse racing at the time. So I'm really the first one that's tried and spent a bunch of time down across the border, and I guess it means a whole lot. I never thought of it that way.
Well, and you can kind of like touch on like you're kind of part of the new wave of Canadian saddle bronc riders that are kind of taking over the PRCA. Like there's almost half of the bronc riders at the NFR are
6
Canadian
of
guys.
15.
Like,
so
talk a bit about that. Like what it means to be part of that, and kind of why do you think that we're having so much success south of the border?
So they actually set a record last year. My understanding was in 1978 they had 5 Canadians make the finals in the bronc riding.
I'm gonna get my book. I'll figure this out. Have it all marked down.
But that was including that was including an Aussie that married into Canada.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on this now?
Glenn O'Neill?
Glenn. That was including Glenn as a Canadian. Mm-hmm. But then somebody just told me last week that there was one other time back in the days of Mel Highland and those guys that there were 5 Canadians made it in 1 year. And then last year they tied that with 5 Canadians, and this year we got 6. We set a new record for Canadians in the saddle bronc riding.
Okay, for some
I could very well be 7 with like a guy like Ben like didn't have as strong of a year as he did.
Or Kays has been right there a couple times.
There could be
close,
8
right?
Canadian
There
saddle
could be
bronc riders.
10, honestly.
Really?
So who are the 10?
If you look at guys that were right there with Ben was just on the outside looking in. Jake Watson, who's been there a few times.
Yeah.
That was pretty close too. I think he was 24th or something in the world. There's a Dawson Dom, who I think, in my opinion, is a very underrated saddle bronc rider because
and he kicked ass this year at the CPRA.
Yeah, and he's a very talented bronc rider, and I keep telling him he needs to go more because he needs to get out of the house, and he's good enough to have a chance to make it.
Yeah.
And then there's a Kays who was 16th last year. There's 10 guys at one point this year, or last year, I guess. At one point last season, there were 10 Canadians in the top 30 in the world.
Wow.
1/3 of the top 30 in the world were Canadian bronc riders.
So for reference here, so I got my 2015 media guide where I went through everything, and there are some pretty crazy times in the 60s here. So 1965, we've got Winston Bruce, number 2, with 23,000 on the year. Then you got
big year.
Yeah, Marty Wood was 4th. Marty Wood's also a 3-time world champion for the record books there. Kenny McLean was 7th. Wayne Vold made the NFR 1965, so that was 4 in 1965. 3, Marty, Winston, and Wayne in 1966. 67, we had 5. Marty Wood, Winston Bruce, Mel Highland, Kenny McLean, and Tom Buse.
Yeah.
But Tommy Buse replaced Ned Londo in the NFR in 1967, so technically that might not be a legitimate qualification inside the top 15. So you could say 5 with an asterisk, but there were 6 in 1968.
Really?
You've got Mel Highland 4th, Kenny McLean 5th. This is the final world standings as well. Then you got Tom Buse 6th, Ivan Daines 10th, Marty Wood, whose address is Diamond, Missouri, but he's still Canadian from Bowness.
Yeah.
And then Winston Bruce is 15. So you got Mel, Kenny, Tom, Ivan, Marty Wood, Winston Bruce. That's 6. So you guys didn't break a record. It's tied.
Oh, we tied
But
it.
not everybody looks at the record books like this. Hasn't gone through every year to find it.
There's some motivation for 23.
It's a tie. It's a tie. So you got to get to 7. So
I think there's a chance we can do it.
Oh, I think absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
So
well,
anyways,
you get
six
Kays
was
back for healthy for a season.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben's got all the tools there to be great too. So I mean,
Same with
so many
Jake
so many
and Dawson,
guys.
too.
Yeah, you know.
And then there's some young guys coming up, like Quentin Taylor made the short round of Cheyenne, and
Q's rank.
there's a handful of younger guys that are not far away from it either.
So why do you think there's been this influx of great Canadian saddle bronc riders? What's the deal, man?
It goes back to these years, honestly. You guys are 4th, 5th, 6th, or not 4th, but like 3rd, 4th generation bronc riders in Canada.
I think that's part of it, but I think it was definitely paved the way by, Zeke, Clay, Jake, and Leighton. I think there was a lot of guys, when we were looking up to it, in 2016, Zeke won the world. That just opened up Canadians' eyes that a Canadian can go down there and compete and
Do
win
good,
on the world stage. So you look at something like that drove a whole group of us. There was a whole, like, Logan, Dawson, Ben, Colby, myself, Dawson, Dom. Like, there's a whole group of those guys that sat there and watched Clay and Zeke and Leighton and that crew go and win and make the finals. Well, holy crap. Like, that drove us to work on our skills to get to that point. Like, we had to beat Clay and Zeke and those guys just to make the Canadian finals. So it made us better. The competition, I mean, we're sitting there driving each other. We're helping each other out. The competition makes better skilled at anything. So when you have that many good guys going, like, it made rodeos in Canada this year really hard, because
Saddlebronc riding is the best event to watch at Canadian rodeos, man. It's awesome.
You might piss some guys off saying that.
Now I'm a bull rider, but it's fun.
but yeah, like, it's really cool to be a part of, because it's so tough that it makes it that much more fun. Like, when you beat them guys, you feel pretty good about yourself. You beat some good bronc riders. So, but you still want them doing good too at the same point.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's pretty cool.
Well, and we have the horsepower we have up here too. Like, you're beating those guys. You're beating them on the best horses in the world at some of the biggest events too. So I think there's a bit of, like, going to attribute some of that, like, to having the access to the amazing horses that we have. Like, look at the events like Pollockville and those ones. Like, you're smashing world records every year. Seems like there now.
Yeah. There's, I mean, the bronc power in Canada is second to none. We got our list for the Canadian Finals, and it's going to be some dang good bronc riding there, I think.
Another year, a little earlier, 2001, we had 5 Canadians. If you include Glenn O'Neill, though,
So we're talking
This
about
is the year-
That's the year we
yeah.
were talking about, where
01.
because Glenn was living in Canada at the time.
Yeah, not technically Canadian yet. So, but yeah, what would I say? 67? 1967.
yeah,
So that's
tied
actually
it.
the top. And then we had, then there was 5 again. And if you include Glenn in, 04, like the early 2000s, you had Rod Hay, Rod Warren, Glenn O'Neill, and Denny Hay making it a few times as well. So pretty cool. And we also flirted with a record too for the most Canadians to make the finals. I had 11 in 1992, including Rael Robinson. She was in the WPRA at the time, so when it was kind of a little more separated, where it didn't connect that way as much. So this year with 10 with Shelby Bosley in the breakaway. So 9 in the finals is also pretty high compared to having, 1 in the mid.
And 6 of them are Saddlebronc riders.
Yeah, in the mids when like Strauss was the only one to go for a couple of years.
Jordy
Lindsay
was part of, like, the smaller crew guys.
yeah,
like,
right. So there's a couple
Deb Ringer was like
years there where it was lighter, but anyways, going to the finals. What are you most looking forward to? Going to Vegas to the NFR. Is this your first time going? I know a lot of guys don't go until they make it. So have you been before? I don't know this.
So last year I went down for the futurity that they have at the start of the finals, and I competed in that. And I went to 3 rounds, and I think it was Joan Unger that when she asked what I thought, that was my first time ever going to the rodeo.
Isn't Joan Ricky's wife? Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Ricky
Colby's
Tiki.
mom.
Yeah, Ricky Tiki Wanchuk. Yeah.
And I bought the tickets off her, and she asked me what I thought, and I said I need to be here next year. So that's where I kind of based it all off that. I started putting in the work that next week.
Really? Huh. After going to watch it and going to watch the finals and being
that's rare though, because like Ted said, a lot of guys won't step foot in there until do. But it's kind of neat the way you looked at it with like. It's like a motivation. It's like, damn, like you felt the atmosphere, felt the vibes. It's like, damn, I need to be part of this. And
that's how I started rodeo. And I went to the CFR in 02 and saw it and was like,
this is awesome.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's I guess I say this, I don't know for sure. I think that's going to help me because when I talked to Chet Johnson about the first time he made it, he said like it never hit until you rode in for that grand entry in front of whatever it is, 17,000 people.
Yeah.
And it hits you like a wall. Well, at least I got to see and know like it's gonna. I know what's coming when I ride through that gate for the first time. It's gonna be not quite as much of a surprise. I hope. I guess.
So
have you made a plan on what you're gonna pick? Have you made a plan on what you're gonna pick for your grand entry horse? What
that was my question. What's your strategy to not get bucked off in the grand entry
as a bronc rider?
As a bronc rider,
that would be extra embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm gonna focus on. Well, hopefully I can convince a pickup man to let me ride his horse.
But we don't know. Have you made any calls yet? Because like people that the NFR veterans have probably already made those calls.
But we don't know who's picking up yet.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm really pulling that Tyler Craft gets in there and I can convince him to let
Canadians,
me ride.
You might be able to get him in there. You guys will get to vote.
Yeah, I mean voting was done. I don't know when they announce who got it, but I'm really hoping that I'll have some pull and can maybe convince him to let me ride one of his horses.
Can you play the card of like, hey man, I voted for you. Like, can you tell me a bone here? I need a grand entry horse, kind of thing.
Would you give him one to send down there, like of your own?
No, I'd never. They'd probably end up bucking me off more than anything. But I know like a guy like Zeke definitely I know he rode one of the pickup man's horses last year, so. Got to try and pull some strings and see if I can get that. Otherwise, I mean, just hope like heck that I don't get bucked off.
Hang on to that, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do you know what your back number is there yet?
No, they haven't announced that yet.
Haven't done that yet.
So have you like seeked out any advice from guys like Zeke or Leighton or Jake, the guys who've competed at the NFR like, as Canadians going down? Like, have you had conversations with them since you've qualified?
Not since I qualified. I mean, I talked to Zeke a little bit. Definitely, I took some advice from Clay back before my first Canadian finals, where he just said, try and keep it as close to what you're like rodeoing all year. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more people around. There's a lot of people that are watching you really closely at the finals there because there's so few Canadians. So there's going to be a lot of people calling you. There's a lot of people stopping to chat with you. He said the biggest thing is trying to keep it as similar to rodeoing because you go all year. I mean, half of more than half of our season, our whole season is all year. You're not with your family the whole time. You're on the road. You're driving everywhere. You're not necessarily getting 9 and 10 hours of sleep. You're drinking
10 hours of
drinking
sleep.
the odd
I wish.
beer. You're not in. It's not the most ideal conditions. So when you come times for the finals, he said just try and keep it run of the mill, and look at it that way. So I took that advice for the Canadian finals in 2019, and I'm going to try and keep it that way for Vegas.
What are you looking? I don't know if Ted really asked it. Like, it might be a little bit spin on Ted's question, but like, what are you looking most forward to about Vegas? What's the one thing you can't wait to like do or be part of, or like
what gambling games are you the best at?
Yeah. What's your gambling budget for the 10 days?
Ooh.
$50.
Are you a gambler?
I'm a gambler.
Oh no.
I like playing blackjack.
I like blackjack too.
What hotel do they put you guys in? Do you know yet?
I think the Bronco Riders have been at Harrah's for the last few years. So
Harrah's. Hopefully it's been renovated.
It looked from what they told me it was
okay.
Pretty nice last year.
That's good.
But I think that's where we've been for years. So
okay.
I'm expecting that's where we're going to end up. I'm not going to try and gamble a whole lot. I think I say that, but I probably will end up playing a little bit.
It is Vegas.
It is Vegas.
I mean, I played quite a bit last year. I had
but
fun.
you weren't competing. So
I wasn't competing.
Yeah.
It was a little different.
How'd you do?
I paid for my whole trip to Vegas and fees and meals and everything. I came out even on a Vegas trip.
Oh shit, that's pretty good.
That's unusual.
That doesn't happen.
That
very
was,
often.
But he is a rodeo guy, so the budget's probably lower.
Well, we drove down, we flew home, 4 days with
You gotta think
meals,
when you're rodeoing,
entry
Lace.
fees. I think I bought a couple Christmas presents, and I walked out
shit.
even.
Attaboy.
It was. I was pretty
So you
excited.
probably won about what, 1,500, 2,500?
I won 2,500 the first night.
Oh shit! Damn, son.
And
What's your strategy in blackjack? Do you know how to count cards?
no, I wish.
What'd you teach us? What?
I've tried following the cards a little bit better, and
It's
it
hard,
never
though.
seems to work.
It's hard.
Uh,
Plus, they feed you free alcohol, so then it's like, is that a jack or is that an ace?
yeah,
Ugh, that things get squirrely like that.
I always just try to trust my gut. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a lot of luck too.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's built to make you lose. You got to get lucky.
What's your play on pair of eights?
This is now a gambling podcast.
Depends what's showing. I guess if it's,
Call on his way
it's a 10, probably not.
So we're going to Cowboys.
I
After?
always
hit
gonna say a
16s.
16?
I always hit 16s for sure. But
But 2 8s. Well,
I'd
if you, I
probably
guess
split if it wasn't
if
a
it's
10.
7 or lower.
Are you
If it's a
a
9 or
big
lower.
etiquette guy on the blackjack table? Like, do you really care about the flow?
That's
You know,
a
like,
game changer. You have to. You can't have some dope on at playing the last cards. They fuck
I'm
it
just,
up.
I'm not, that's the
Yeah,
questions.
I
I'm not-
mean, you don't normally hit against a 16, but you're also gambling for yourself. So I've done a lot of splitting 2s against a 6.
So we're going to Cowboys after this is over and do some blackjack. What kind of implications does qualifying for your first NFR have for your career? Like, that open the door for more sponsorship stuff, or is that kind of something you really haven't thought of yet?
I hope so. I mean, I got picked up by Cinch this year, and that was
Nice.
a pretty good deal for me.
Is it still Jessica Whalert?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
So I've gotten, 2 sponsors this year that I've never had before.
And Robert Timberland, right?
Yeah.
What's
Robert
the-
Lind.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's from up our way.
Yeah, and great guy. I mean, they love rodeo up there. They're sponsoring 3 different bronc riders right now.
Ben and who else?
Leighton.
And Leighton too.
And
That's awesome.
so, I mean, they've been really good to me. Both my sponsors treat me great. And then I've had some help from family and that along the way. And
The Bank of Mom.
the odd tank of fuel from Dad
Yeah,
when my card doesn't work or something.
yeah. That's like because you guys probably got tanks at the house and stuff too. Like
Yeah,
the UFA tanks,
and
whatnot.
And card lock cards.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's
I mean,
awesome.
it's still
Ashbacher
cheaper.
Rodeo.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
So scenario time. Do a new segment, NFR scenario. Just brought it presented by Sweet Pro Feeds. So you're at the round 10 of the NFR. You can hand pick the horse you want to get on to win the round, and you know
and write your own score.
Write your own score. What horse? What's your dream matchup in round 10 in Vegas?
Or round 5. You can take both TV pen nights.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to argue with Get Smart. I mean,
Really?
yeah, the horse is 20 years old, but he is bucking as good as any horse it has
Really?
this year. And I mean, they know it. That horse bucks, and if you can spur that horse, I mean, there's some tricky things that if you're doing things right and you mark that horse out good and spur him, you're going to be in the 90s every time. I mean, that horse alongside there's so many good bucking horses. But a horse like Black Tie of Sankey's, that horse, I mean, Colby just won Pendleton on it. They were 92.5 on it, and I think they were over 90 on it 5 times this year out of 8 trips. And I mean, that horse you could definitely win any round on too. Like there's so many good horses. I never realized that until we got in those stock selection meetings. A lot of good bucking horses that you win rodeos on all year round get cut and don't make it to Vegas.
What? Why?
Because there's 450 horses that get put on the list that are good enough to go to Vegas,
Oh, damn.
and you have to get down to 105 horses.
Damn. Okay. All right.
What's that
Why do
like
they-
picking
why-
horses? We talked about this with Sage Kimsey, like
Yeah.
picking bulls. Is it you guys get like heated with each other, or
Most people agree on some. There was a handful of horses where they were saying that people were going to have to arm wrestle or leg wrestle over who got their way. Luckily, it was over. I mean, I guess not luckily. Sad for us. It wasn't me arguing about it, but
Because Cole's probably a good leg wrestler.
yeah,
yeah.
he just shakes a fist at him.
But yeah, sad enough.
Especially you
there
against
was-
Stetson. He's just tiny. You just
You got leverage on those.
I
boys.
don't know. I mean, I grew up leg wrestling quite a bit in Arrowwood, so
I'm not.
It's a rite
good
of
at it.
passage in the Ashbacher family.
I'm not
You
good
can't.
at it.
Dude,
I'm
whoever
bad.
gets to dish up first to Christmas is the you have to do a leg wrestling, progressive leg wrestling tournament.
well, surprisingly, Colby is pretty good leg wrestler.
So didn't he have to leg wrestle to pick a short round horse recently?
No, that was.
Oh, that was
who
a showdown
that?
in the
that
arena
was
somewhere.
Cade Bruno and Spencer Wright. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
That was
South
at
Dakota.
Mitch's, that was at Mitch's bronc match in Idaho.
Oh, Idaho. Okay.
And
Saw the video.
I
That
like
sounded
that.
Awesome.
Colby and Lefty actually had to leg wrestle in the arena one time in Newtown, North Dakota at their rodeo for
damn.
who got the buckle and blanket.
Right,
really?
that's
Because
what
they
it's for.
split the win. And I mean, Lefty got trashed. It was pretty sad excuse.
Those Ukrainians, man.
Lefty didn't even know what leg wrestling was to begin with.
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair.
So
that's like a pool shark. He's like the leg wrestling.
Colby walked all over him.
Give me those prizes.
So the second part of the question we asked to Sage was like, do you have, after you submit the list, do you get like contractors calling you guys being like, yo, what the fuck, dude? Like, why'd you pick my horses?
You have contractors calling you for 2 weeks straight, sending you videos, this and that.
Just like random numbers you don't have on your phone, like, hey, look at this horse.
Yeah. There's lots that get called, and I mean, you always.
Did they ever
feel
offer
bad.
you money?
No. No. But I mean, the best horses go is kind of what it ends up with, and
Yeah.
that's kind of been our response to a lot of guys. Is there's a lot of good horses get cut.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's some that are splitting hairs. There's some that there's shoot procedure if you can't have your saddle pulled and roll a horse because it's going to jump and break your saddle or something.
Well, and
that would be a reason why a horse
NFR
doesn't.
too.
Yeah, that would be some of the reasons why a couple horses got cut when their bucking style is good enough to get them there for sure.
So you didn't tell, or you said get smart. Okay. Sufficient answer.
So, okay, I have another...
Especially at the last NFR, too.
That would be,
Get smart.
would be in round 10 would be his last trip.
Chances are a Canadian might get on that horse. It was pretty cool.
I mean, there's 4 chances at finals.
I hope it's you, man.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's you. I have another new segment presented by the Canadian Finals Rodeo. This one is... So, the NFR is known for handing out very crazy...
How do you ask an NFR question about the CFR
Because we all work
segment?
together. It's my show, my rules. So this new segment presented by the CFR is so you know how the NFR hounds out like crazy fines throughout the show, throughout the week. What are you most likely to be fined for? That's at the NFR.
Jeez, that's a tough one. Well, it won't be for the feather because I don't wear one. I know Colby almost got in trouble for that one.
Yeah, do you think someone would sabotage you and just put a feather in your hat, though?
I think I'd notice if somebody put a feather in my hat when I've never wore one. So that wouldn't be that. Maybe taking a while in the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not by far not the worst, but I think I want to make sure the horses are standing proper and make sure it's right because it can cost you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
$26,000 in a round.
28, almost 29 this year.
Holy.
Or 50,000 Canadian.
How much is the average this year? Is it over 70 now?
Over 80 is what I was understood.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Holy dynamite.
That's cool. Heck yeah.
So
do you get a lot of people asking you for tickets and stuff now, or what?
I mean, there's been a few neighbors and stuff that just say, "Hey, like, do you get this? Do you get that?" So, I've kind of put that all on my mom.
Nice.
She, I'm letting her be in charge of it.
She's your manager.
You put us on the list too if you want. You're good.
We're good. I got to apply for our passes.
I was just making a joke.
Okay.
But yeah, I just let her look after that. I said, just figure it out. Tell me how many I need to get when it comes time, and
Nice.
let you look after that.
Did you hear from any of your long lost relatives that need tickets to the NFR now?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, I haven't had near as many people just asking for tickets or anything like that. I've been pretty fortunate for that. People understand they got to buy their tickets if they want to come watch.
Yeah,
Support your local
I
rodeo,
can't
baby.
get your flights down there. I'm not driving. I'm not going to bring you a bunch of chew back either. Sorry.
I've done that a few times. I probably, even though I shouldn't say that. I guess
we all bring it back.
I can't wait to get back down to Vegas, get some prime times. I love those
Oh,
things.
dear.
So
you can't
good.
find those.
In Vegas, you can.
Well, like you can't find those in Eastern America.
No, they're not. I've had a few friends
Nothing
who
east of
traveled to the
Mississippi?
U.S. and they've went.
Even,
and they
the
don't
Dakotas,
even know.
you can't. They've never even
Oh,
heard
really?
of them.
Yeah,
Dakotas.
people don't even
dang.
know what they are. Yeah,
I couldn't believe that. That was
They also don't know about ketchup chips, though. So
that's a Canadian thing, though. Prime times are
yeah.
or Skittles.
Or really
or
Skittle?
Smarties.
Or
Skittles?
sorry,
No.
not Skittles. Smarties.
Smarties. Yeah,
Yeah.
Smarties is different.
Smarties are rockets down
Yeah.
there.
I guess yes. We kind of really get into the CFR. You we mentioned earlier in the show. You finished second in Canada last year.
It was. How much was the difference? Zeke was pretty far.
Yeah, Zeke
Right.
had like a $12,000
$20,000
something
lead coming in, right?
Going in, $12,000 lead going in, and I placed in like 5 of 6 rounds. I
Did all
think
you could do.
I had an outstanding CFR. I was pretty fortunate for that. I drew really good horses, and it just everything seemed to fall in place for me. And yeah, I was, because I think he won the average and I got second in the average, and I can't even remember. It might have been 10,000 that he beat me by, maybe 15.
Okay.
I think the only way I had a chance of winning it going into the last day was if he fell off.
Okay.
And
you got 0 points.
Yeah, and then it would have taken him down in the average. That would have been, and I think even then after round 5, he had it won.
Oh, okay. Pretty close then.
Because it wasn't super close, but it was. I mean, I was pretty happy with my finals the way it went.
So you're heading into the finals of third place. You have 37,001. First place is around 44,000. You got a shot to win it this year. Is your confidence, or where you at heading into the finals this year?
Yeah, I think my riding is as good as it's ever been right now. And I just want to kind of keep that rolling and take every horse jump for jump, make sure I do my part, and let the cards fall where they fall.
What's your favorite thing about the CFR and Red Deer?
Oh, it's
they're a sponsor of the show, so
yeah, it's a lot of fun with all them, like all the bronc riders that make it. They're such good buddies. You just have a good time for 5-6 days, and their Caesar bar. Shout out to that. That is a great thing. The Caesar bar at Red Deer. But yeah, other than that, just it's good bucking horses every round. And like we're fortunate enough in Canada to have that, where we have top of the line bucking horses in each of the rounds, and it just makes for a fun week.
And we're going back to the NFR, but like it's kind of a good warm up for that. You're competing against all guys who could qualify for the NFR and guys who have qualified for the NFR. But it's like you're getting like the best competition on the best horses leading up to like the biggest rodeo. In December.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to ever call that a warm up for it, because it's still for a Canadian title too. But it does get you set up. You're getting on good bucking horses, and I think that's what keeps you riding well, is getting on good bucking horses all the time. So it makes a big difference when you get on that quality. Like we're getting on lots of the horses that are going to Vegas right there for 6 rounds in Red Deer.
Have you talked to Colby since Ricky won Entertainer of the Year?
Yeah, I have.
How's the vibes with the Wanchuk family? I know Ted and I were listening in on the road, and we were like pumped up, like honking our horn and fist pumping. We heard that Ricky won. So
yeah, they were really excited. I think Colby said, to quote Ricky, "Why couldn't they have let me win this 5 years ago? Because if I have to go out in the arena or something for that, it's going to be way tougher." He said, 5 years ago, I'd be bouncing out there. He said,
his
not
back's
quite
really
bouncing.
sore right now too.
Yeah, he's definitely pretty sore right now. So, but I mean, they're all super excited.
That's cool.
and
happy for him.
Yeah.
Have you ever been involved in a Ricky clown act?
Yes, sadly, yes.
Oh, what you want?
What happened?
Well, I've chased a lot of chickens, and it may
classic.
or may not have even been this year at at Grand Prairie. I had to go catch a stinking chicken.
I don't remember this happening.
I think I remember the first year we did the sound at Grand Prairie. You were out in the arena. You and Colby were running around catching chickens. Because I think I remember at the production meeting, or they told Ricky no chickens, and of course he let out the chickens. So there's just like blue and yellow chickens running around the arena in Grand Prairie.
Maybe that's code for Rick. Rick, no chickens. He's like, okay, I got the chickens.
Wake.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, from when Colby and I were just running around little kids, I was always out there helping out when I could. And I mean, Colby and I even wild pony raced together back when we were 8, 9, or 10 years old or something. And but chasing chicken around, I was always too scared to catch chickens when I was younger. I'd get real close, and then the chicken would jump or something and spook me.
The one with Colby this year when he caught it was hilarious. Like there was a good replay on it too, and I think it made the rounds on some social stuff. But he had to do a duck and dive and dodge, and like
he dove on it,
lunged for the chicken. It
jumped
was hilarious.
on it. Yeah. That was the time in Grand Prairie where both of us had to go. It's him and I.
That's awesome. This year that was funny. What's your is it just K's you travel with? I forget. We kind of got off on a sidetrack on that. Who else is on the road with you?
So last year it was Case Thompson and Dawson Dom for part of the summer. And then this year I traveled with Lucas Moxa and then Chet Johnson and Court Shearer.
Oh, okay.
So
you had no fun. Those guys taught you nothing
No.
on the road this year. And there's only so many things you could talk about.
Yeah, but you and Lucas are kind of had a similar upbringing with him growing up, like going to awards rodeos and stuff. Like, you guys have a lot in common in that sense.
Oh yeah, we've been pretty good friends for a lot of years. I think when he made his first Canadian Finals last year in the saddle bronc riding, his mom found a picture of him and I from the Little Britches Rodeo in High River when I was 9 and he was 8 years old.
Cool.
Dang.
And all shapped up with our vest on, waiting to get on our steer ride. And that was actually the time I got on that Heaven on Earth or Shiver and Shake calf. And but yeah, we had that picture that they had dug up, and kind of neat to be riding at this high level. I mean, until he got hurt, he's right
one of those
there.
Guys,
he's another one of them guys has the ability to
Right there now.
to make Vegas. If he didn't get hurt and come Reno, he was sitting top 20 in the world at the time. He was going to win he was going to fight for a Rookie of the Year title. He was going to fight for a trip to Vegas, just right alongside me.
Cool.
Wace.
I like it.
Got the question.
The last one. Okay, Cole. Man, this has been really cool. It's always fun to sit and visit and catch up. We're going to leave you with the final question we ask all of our guests on the Cowboy Shit podcast. What is your definition of cowboy shit?
I mean,
it's the hardest question of the show.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's just that cowboy mentality of you always help your buddy out. I mean,
even if it's to catch a chicken,
even if it's to catch a stinking chicken, you're there to help out everybody. You're always willing to help a younger guy. You're rooting for your buddies that are competing against you, trying to take your money, just as much as you're hoping to do good yourself. So that to me is the kind of the cowboy mentality. It's more of a family than anything, and I think that's cowboy shit for sure.
Yeah. Well, you and your family are definitely definitions of it for sure.
You mentioned Doug's stories about Archie. Do you have any that you remember right now that you?
There's one.
Get into?
There's one. This is the one of the last ones Doug told me. I think we were in Verd and he told me the story. So Archie.
So Doug Young is pro rodeo announcer. Been done the CFR the last couple of years as well. Been a rodeo announcer and been in the Western.
He's competed. He's a CCA team roping champion. He managed like PFRA pasture for years and years and years, and he's neighbors with Cole's grandpa Archie. And he's telling me this story, and Doug he's like, yeah, he's like, Archie called me up. He's like, hey Doug, can you come help me halter break some colts at the house? And Doug's like, yeah, sure, why not? And so Doug brings his rope over, and Archie has this it's like a lean-to, like kind of like half like a calf shelter type thing. It has like a sharp 90-degree corner with a post in the middle of it. So Doug gets there and he's standing there with his rope, and Archie comes up and says, hey, I'm gonna run him through and you rope the smaller one and tie him off the post, like just trying to start like working their way up to the bigger horses. So Doug's standing there, and a few minutes later, these like massive like draft cross like colts come running through this like calf shelter.
Are these like? Are these giant bucking horses? Are they or?
I can't remember I can't remember that detail of it, but I think they're like they want to halter break. It might have been wild horse racing horses or something that, but they're just trying to halter break. It might have just been colts. They're trying to halter break. Anyways, so these horses run by Doug, and Doug's like dishpan like big as dinner plate. His eyes like these horses are fucking huge. Like I don't want to rope one of these things. So then Archie comes around the corner. He's like, "Did you get any of them?" And Doug's like, "I'm not sure which is the smaller one. Like you want me to rope?" So I think they tried again, and they ended up getting a few of them roped after Doug knew the drill. But yeah, anytime Doug brings up an Archie story, it's so funny because there's another funny one about my brother. We were out at Archie's one time when my dad was calving cows for your grandpa. We were cruising around the yard, and like there was stuff all over the yard, and they were in the shop or something, and my brother and I were hammering nails into just to a random block of wood. We're just hanging out with the hammers and nails, just hammering it in. And my dad starts giving a shit, and Archie looks at my dad. He's like, "You let those kids pound as many fucking nails as they want to, because it ends up being like we're gonna be good at hammering nails in the future. We're actually working and having fun at it." So, yeah, that's a couple of the Archie stories I remember. Good stuff.
He was quite a guy.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh man. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. Thanks for making the trip over, Cole. We look forward to watching you in Red Deer again at the CFR, and for your first trip to Vegas. We're happy for you. Happy to see another Canadian make it there, and look forward to seeing you.
We'll be there cheering you on, man. It's awesome. We're stoked.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys, for having me on. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it.
He drew a good enough shy, but 7 seconds in, that sucker dumped him flat on his butt. Now he's headed down to Pendleton to do it again, cause he just got to make the cut. To be one of the cowboys headed to Nevada to try for the December gold, where the lights shine bright in the clear desert night, and the people come to rock and roll. Where the best of the best get put to the test, and the rest might as well stay home. And when they put you in the chute and turn you loose, you gotta prove that you're bad to the bone. Gotta make it out to Vegas, to the NFR, where 8 seconds in the saddle can make you a star. Where the neon glitters and the
Thanks again to Kole Ashbacher for joining us this week. Best luck to him, like we said, at the NFR.
Yeah, stoked for him.
CFR, guys on the way up.
Bunch of first timers for us at the CFR or at the NFR this year. A few.
Yeah, because it'd be
Logan, Cole,
Logan Hay,
Jared.
Yeah, Parsonage. That's right. Congrats to our friend, former
I guess Shelby
friend of the
Bolger.
show. I think she made it before for some reason.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
Wasn't
a few first timers out there.
Anyways,
which is really cool.
Yeah, who else? Oren's back, man. That guy's gonna be high up on our bareback rider list when we get there. I think this is his 8th consecutive, or like maybe not consecutive, but 8 times now he's been to NFR.
And he has a Canadian title now too.
Yeah, after
The
last year,
couple-
right?
Yeah. So he's Oren's making it happen.
He's
man.
making it happen.
And
Man.
he kind of just flies under the radar. Like it's funny. He
cool.
just
Collect.
does his thing. So it's gonna be exciting. I'm stoked to get down there and watch our Canadians kick some ass.
Kick some ass. Yeah, we'll looking forward to that. We've got a couple things in the works. I don't want to say anything yet because we got to figure out how to do it still, but
We're figuring it out.
we're working
We'll
on some
be there.
NFR stuff.
Somehow we'll be there.
Somehow we'll be there. Yeah, that'll kind of get us through that. But Wacey, we had some feedback on the shitties the other day.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago,
Our awards.
or I guess our
segment,
last show.
we gave out a few awards.
Yeah, our last show we did the shitties. If you hadn't listened to it yet, go back and listen. Where we handed out because the CPRA did their
They're kinda
year-end
like the
awards.
Dundies.
Yeah, we handed
Yeah.
out our own list
And
of
the
awards.
PRCA has been doing their own awards too.
We
like
figured
they
we'd do
have
our
for
own.
years.
Yeah, so one of them was for the best roadside bathroom, and I think we ended up giving it to the Shell in Valley View.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a common place that people like to stop.
But
However,
not everybody gets up north, so I
Not-
get it. Not
and-
everybody's been there.
a friend of mine, Chance Switzer from Saskatchewan,
PBR Bull Rider.
PBR Bull Rider, CPRA
CCA
Bull Rider.
all-around guy.
He's won the CCA, I think, 2 or 3 times now. Good kid, really good kid. Anyways,
I like
he
Chance.
he sent me a message. Oh God, would have been 2 or 3 days ago, saying how he was listening to the episode with the shitties, and he said he has a nomination for the 2023 shitties of the bathroom, best roadside bathroom. And
Best shitter.
it's the Shell in Banff. The new Shell in Banff apparently
Really?
has heated seats, really nice atmosphere within the
Do they have
toilet.
bidets though? Will they wash your hoop with
Man,
water?
I think a public bidet would be really weird.
I had one in a hotel one time.
But like, that hotels, they get cleaned it before.
I saw
any-
one in an office building the other day. A bidet. It was like a tushy thing. I mean, like, I don't know. It'd be weird, though, wouldn't it?
And would you use a gas station bidet though? Would you? I don't know. There's no chance that you'd use that.
I think, you know what? I think in Brazil it was like kind of standard, if I remember right. It might have been a hose. There was like a hose bidet. You could just wash your hoop off.
But if you just say you're just rolling into the Dead Man's Flat Husky and they have a bidet, are you using that, Rick?
Depends how, well, like, what's the worst that can happen? You're washing poo off your bunghole.
What if you cross sauces with somebody?
Oh, boy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I would not
This
be
is the
down
point in
with
the
that.
show where people stop listening.
I would not be
'cause
down
we're
with that.
Got off the rails.
Still funny though.
If you have any submissions for the shitties,
Would you? And yeah, if you have any submission for
Cowboy
the,
Shit shitties, the awards of
we're
the
taking
year
nominations for 2023. So
and categories. We made this up on the fly the other day.
maybe we'll do it. We'll do a more serious job of it in 2023.
Our friend Steve Mears from TP Creek Stampede already reached out and said, "Hey man, thanks for the award. Appreciate that."
So this is a challenge to all the rodeos that we go to throughout the year. Like, how
who we
good's your
didn't hear
cabaret?
from? We didn't hear from Keenan Vine about
Probably
Lethbridge.
that shows how much he listens to the show.
I guess he's not that much of a fan of the show.
I guess not.
Challenge to Keenan if anybody knows him.
But yeah,
Yeah, Keenan, we heard you won the worst ground award.
the worst ground and the best ground at the same time. How does that even happen? Double shitty. He's the first recipient of the double shitty.
Oh dear. Oh boy.
One thing we forgot in the first half, I want to give a shout out to Cowboy Cole for his impromptu comedy act.
Yeah.
We originally had brought him up there. I brought him up there to sing a song and just kind of be a celebrity guest in the song contest just to
What
mess
was he
around.
going to sing?
The national anthem. Like that's all he was going to sing.
Of Kazakhstan?
Of Canada. Like that was originally my idea was to do the Canadian national anthem.
I thought it was going to be funny to just joke on everybody and be like, okay, here's what we're going to do tonight. Everybody, all of our contestants are going to sing the anthem 3 times. You can sing it in any language that you'd like.
Oh, God.
Because in the last little while, I've heard French, Cree, and like normal English for all Canada, right? So, on the Truth and Reconciliation Day, the lady sang it. And
that's cool.
It was
really
neat.
cool.
So I was going to like spoof on everybody. Be like, so we're going to sing the anthem 3 different languages. We're going to hear it 17 times this evening.
Oh, God.
And our first contestant from the nation of Kazakhstan, Cowboy Kole Borat Robertson. And then he was going to sing pretend to be Borat. But we didn't do it.
And anyway.
Instead, he did his comedy set.
Yeah, we had a few folks.
What do you talk about?
We had a few.
Dwayne the Cock Johnson?
Yeah. We had a few folks drop out of the contest, so we kind of needed to fill some time in to extend the show. And
as it was, it worked out.
It worked out perfect.
Time
so I
really
went to Cole's like, "Yo, man, we need some comedy. No, you're no more singing." So he whipped out his. We won't give away all of his content because I'm sure it's one of his sets that he'll use.
He whipped out his
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. But yeah, Cole's actually gonna be performing on the cabaret stage as well on Thursday night. So if you want to come check out a little comedy act at CFR,
bring your dollar bills for his G-string. Give him a couple tips.
Yeah, because it gets spicy up there. So.
It gets extra spicy.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's a venue of 18+.
I wanted to make sure I got that in there for Cole because he did a good job. Good job, fella.
Fun road trip. We all went up there together yesterday.
It was good. And nice. Red Deer's a nice easy drive. So yeah, it was good.
Good time.
I'm stoked. I'm stoked for the next few weeks, man. It's gonna be a cool run heading into. Well, obviously we get a little bit of a vacation run around for a few days, and then right into CFR. Mm-hmm. I get to go to an Arkells concert finally.
Oh, baby!
And then a Battle of Alberta, hopefully. Yeah.
Right on.
Heck yeah.
Call it good, eh?
I think so.
Okay, we're gonna
don't forget to check out CFR. Get your tickets. CFR Red Deer on social media. Tickets Alberta website to get tickets for. They're still selling individual tickets for the perfs. Check out Sweet Pro and Equilix and Equipride at your local feed stores. And
if they don't have it, tell them to bring it in.
Hell yeah. Amen.
Do it.
And we'll see y'all folks down the road. Don't forget to check out our shit.
Yeah.
Cowboy Shit.
And
we're all over. We got some
gear.
Got some new gear out. A new line this summer. So check us out. Check out the website. Get some stuff fixed up. We got Cole and Kayla are our ambassadors. So they got little promo codes, so you can save some Skrilla there. But yeah, we got lots going on. So check it out, and we will see y'all next time.
Never lay you down, baby. Hey, with your baby mama at the crib and blow her back out. Shorty Filipino and she call me Manny Pacquiao. Alley-oop without the hoop, they call me Jerry Stackhouse. Dazing out in public, but your mama made me snap out. Before I get the dough, got the morning routine. Wake up bright and early to some brand new cream. Floss 3 times, baby, all so clean. Gravy got cheese, now that's poutine. Gravy coming hot like I'm hopping off the griddle. Pull up on a kid if you trying to get belittled. All the mamas love me, now I think I'm peanut brittle. Flex the rainbow, bang it like some Skittles. Gravy, why you out of pocket? Stop it. I'm getting money, Gravy Crockett.